1190 AM, NBC News, and the best in specialty programming.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station or Clear Channel Communications.
Welcome to the Automotive News and Entertainment Show with your host, Jim Proctor. For the next hour, automotive news, reviews, and celebrity interviews. And now, here's your host, Jim Proctor.
Good morning, North Texas, and welcome to another edition of the Automotive News and Entertainment Show. Check us out on Facebook at the AnE Show. Also, check out our website at theaneshow.com. I'm joined this morning by Shu.
Good morning.
We have the lovely Jennifer Reed.
Hello, hello, and I also have my son Joey.
Hi.
Hey, Joey, how you doing, buddy? We have the spin doctor, James Schaefer.
Good morning, and shout out to my beautiful Aunt Sissy, who has just come into town.
All right, Aunt Sissy. And we have a good friend of mine, the doctor of credit and senior analyst at D&M Leasing, David Hooks. Thanks for joining us, David.
It's good to be here, Jim. Thanks for having me back.
All right. This is a touchy story, and it's something that, we touched on last week about the General Motors and the 1.7 million recalls for the faulty ignition switches, and this thing has just kind of grown and grown over this week. David, what do you think about what's come out in the news this week?
Well, I think certainly there's a lot of negative to this situation, and anytime there's loss of life, and I think just a negligence, and no matter how deep or how high up the ladder it goes, and I think probably the real shame is that General Motors has really made such great strides as far as the caliber and quality of vehicles, their competitiveness in the marketplace, versus the European manufacturers. And I think it's really just a shame that all this negative press comes about. And again, you can't right a wrong. I think it's very obvious that things happen that were not supposed to happen. I just think the old management certainly had something to do with it. I'm optimistic, and I hope that General Motors steps up to the plate. They take responsibility, and moving forward, hopefully after a period of time they'll be able to reclaim, I think, the accolades that they now deserve with the type of vehicles they're producing.
Right, and what David's talking about is that the stories that continued to come out this week was the fact that there was knowledge of these issues with these faulty ignition switches. Once again, I don't believe that they ever thought that it would lead to death or what have you, but it was a fix nonetheless. In the old GM, like David said, this is a prior bankruptcy. The company that you're looking at now is completely done, completely revamped, completely new. James, what's your input on this?
There's several things, and first of all, when we were talking earlier in production, you said one of these vehicles was exactly what you would buy your first car, or your 16-year-old son or daughter's car. Or this would be a first car to go off to college, and just like David said, you can't right or wrong. However, when did they know about it? Who's taking responsibility? And nobody's taking responsibility. Are they taking responsibility because they got caught? Or are they taking responsibility because, no, there was an issue, this is what's going on, let's try to fix this? And there's just too many, and I know we don't have all the facts yet, but there really are too many things out there of who knew about this, who didn't know about it, and why didn't they know about it? Who's running the show out here? They've taken, they went out in bankrupt, and they've come out of it, and now there is loss of life, and there's got to be an issue that you've got to say, all right, how are we going to fix this? But why did we ever let it get to this point?
Well, and you're talking about the issue, going back to exactly what the issue was. It's the and the main vehicle that's highlighted in this is the Chevy Cobalt and the faulty ignition switches, which, the real issue there is that this vehicle could basically shut down at highway speeds. And I know there's been thoughts of, well, you coast to a stop, but I mean, if you're on a busy highway doing 70 miles an hour, I mean that's where this problem really arises with that vehicle. The initial recall on the Switch included the 2005 to 2007 Cobalts, 2006, 2007 HHRs, 2006 to 2007 Pontiac Solstice, 2007 G5, and the 2013 to 2007 Saturn Ion and Saturn Sky. I mean, of course, we're talking about a couple of manufacturers that aren't even in the market anymore with the Pontiac G5 and the Saturn. So.
That was my last car, actually, the Cobalt. So it's interesting. I'm glad that
You're safe now.
Yeah. Well, it did actually have a lot of things that I noticed that were happening, that like the fuel, issue. I started smelling gas and stuff. Like, I mean, there's a lot of recalls that I got in the mail all the time. I was kind of like, what's going on?
Well, and they also had the issue, they said, about where the switch was actually located, that it could easily be bumped, into a shutdown. So I mean, it's it's an unfortunate thing.
So what you're saying is my car's like a death trap, basically.
No,
I'm just kidding.
It looks like you could, if you bumped it with your knee or something like that, or hit it with something, or like as it say, it could move itself over into the accessory mode, which essentially shuts everything down. Your power steering, your brakes, and things like this. Although, you've got that one brake left because the brake booster.
Well, and again, things happen. Hey, I get that engineering mistakes or whatever happens. I really, again, think the point is, okay, and I know we're talking about the old regime, or we think we're talking about the old regime. We're hoping we're talking about the old regime. We're hoping that Mary Barara, is that how you say her name? Yeah. The new CEO, hopefully, I mean, she said, hey, safety is a concern. And I don't think anybody in GM is out there and going, oh, great, we're going to make money, and if people die, they die. I don't think we're going to that extreme. But what I do want to point out is that there were people that knew that there was an issue with the ignition switch, and they let it continue on, and as a result, there was loss of life. There was, and let's take that factor out. There were minor accidents because of it. Let's take that factor out. There's loss of work,
lost wages.
Exactly.
Well, how far back does it claim that they knew about this?
Well, there's been some reports out there claiming that they knew of this issue as far back as 2001.
Wow.
Yeah,
but like I said, I mean, all of this, I mean, realize that the General Motors that you see today is not the same company. I mean, you could just basically say the old GM, where all this happened and all this design happened and all these issues and all the fact that they ignored all this stuff, all of that company is defunct. That company is gone. Turn around and look at what GM is doing right now. Look at the products like David spoke about earlier. They have some of the most innovative products coming to market right now, some of the best stuff on the market. And I think it's an unfortunate time for them, for this to come up, because they do have such great product coming out right now.
I think it's just like anything else, though. I don't think General Motors, if indeed it comes to light that they did have prior knowledge, I don't think they're the only company by any stretch that has done something, overlooked something for the greater profit of the company. And understand, I'm not validating that in any way or think that's any way to do business, especially when you're talking about injury and loss of life and lost wages and the overall effect that it has on people. But I think the real question now is what does General Motors do moving forward as far as their responsibility? What's the cause and effect, and what's the cure to it? They can't go back to 2001. They can't redo what has already been done. So the question comes in is, are they going to step up? Are they going to do? I read a couple of articles this week regarding a stipend they were going to create that was upwards of $1 billion. And I know money doesn't cure loss of life, but again, I think to say General Motors. What I don't want to see is the crash of General Motors over something that happened, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that, you've got a completely different, set of people that are involved in it. And even if the current regime had awareness of the issue, that becomes something that a solution needs to be figured out on what works for everyone involved.
Let's throw something a little different out of here, right? Automotive manufacturers don't manufacture all their parts. They get them from suppliers, correct?
Yeah,
The switch was made by Delphi.
But it's not just the switch. Yeah. It's also the design, where the switch was, because of the issue they talked about bumping the switch, and that's correct. Actually, these manufacturers really don't build any of the parts; they assemble them. Mm-hmm. I mean, every part that they get comes from a supplier, and there's always that opportunity out there that supplier, and we've seen it many a times. I mean, we haven't seen it. Fortunately, we haven't seen huge issues like this. The only thing that I can compare this to is going back, what was it, David, 10, 12 years ago, with Ford, with the tire fiasco with the Ford Explorer. And I mean, this is a very similar type issue. I mean, it may not have gotten ugly about if anybody knew there was a problem or what have you, but I mean, the immediate standpoint and the immediate step up for Ford at that time was to step up and do replacements on the tires and everything else. And it affected, I mean, a story that goes as viral as this is going to affect the manufacturer on the short term. The fact of the matter is that Ford was able to come back with that new redesigned products, more innovative stuff, the same thing that GM has right now. I think talking about what GM's doing, and like you said, the new CEO of GM, Mary Barra, they stepped up, there's kind of news last night. They added another 971 vehicles, to this 1.7 million recall. And, these vehicles are going from 2008 to 2011.
GM's also.
And that's not necessarily that these 2008s, 2011s have the same issue. They're doing it to get ahead of the game and make sure there's not a problem there. So I think from the standpoint of them stepping up and taking responsibility and trying to, like you said, you can't right or wrong from 10, 12, 15 years ago, whatever it was. But the fact of the matter is that I see the company stepping up right now and stepping up into these later model vehicles even, which, can expose them a little bit. But I think in the long run, I think it's the right thing to do.
GM has also launched a website, and it's www.gmignitionupdate.com, and that's to provide all consumers with information on the recalls.
All right. Well, we're going to go to a break real quick. We're going to come back and jump into this a little bit more. We'll be right back right here on the AnE Show on 1190 KFXR.
You're listening to the Automotive News and Entertainment Show right here on 1190 AM.
Welcome back to the AnE Show. I've had a couple of texts this morning asking where Joel the Gorilla is, so let me tell you where he is. He is at Mopar Magic with the Mopar Club of Dallas down in Shreveport, Louisiana, and he's going to be posting up some pictures from that classic auto show down there later on today, so make sure you check those out on our Facebook page and our website at theaneshow.com. I want to get back into the General Motors story and kind of expand on it into some stuff. I know, David, you had we were talking during the break about some stuff. You were talking about going back 10 years ago and how we've kind of seen things like this happen before.
Yeah, I mean, there was a case, obviously, with the Firestone tires, and there's all kinds of opinions either way, and obviously there was an issue there. And then you go back 10 years before that, and there was the issue of sudden acceleration with Audi, specifically the 5000 and the 4000. Again, I think not to be no pun intended, but where there's smoke, there's normally fire. So, but with the General Motors thing, it overall, and again, I'm not justifying any wrongdoing or any prior knowledge, but I just wonder how much we need to go backward versus what's important going forward. I mean, Jim, do we close General Motors?
No, not you. You can't. And I mean, it's that's not what I don't think. I don't think anybody's looking for that. I think everybody's looking for the answers on why, who, what, when, where, how, and why did this happen. And I mean, there's a government probe digging into it. This isn't going to be the last thing that we hear about it. And, the only reason that, bad things have to happen for us to fix things moving down the road. And I'm sure, different aspects of policies, procedures, build procedures, what have it, will come out of this. Not only for GM, but it's going to be something that I think, all manufacturers should pay attention to in this and not know this going forward. We also talked about, and we talked about this a few weeks ago, you talk about what happened with Toyota. I mean, the faultiness there was mainly a floor mat on the design on the acceleration. And, we go back to talking about how, look, General Motors didn't build this ignition switch, okay? It's partially the switch, which was built by another company. It's partially the design. The problem here is the knowledge, and who had the knowledge. There's nothing showing so far that we've been able to find that says the knowledge of this, and this is where the real problem is, in my opinion. The real problem never went past basically middle management as far as the decision. I mean, we can all get, you can say, well, this person was the CEO of the company. They had to know. I'm going to tell you, in a company that's that big and with that many things going on and that diversified, there is a possibility that this was kept at a mid-management level, that this decision was kept at a mid-management level. Because how can you go from, you're talking about something deep as far as keeping quiet. If it's true that they knew as far back as 2001 and didn't step up to do this, and we're not talking about they found out about this and they knew about it in 2008 when the market crashed and everybody was in trouble and they didn't have money. You go back to 2001, they could have easily fixed this problem if that's the case. They had the cash. They could have done it. The market was big. The market was robust. And they were making money hand over fist.
Well, and I think there were some, I read in a couple of different articles that there was some indication that they did recognize this. There was some memo, I believe, or some type of correspondence from one of the design staff, or that there were some problems, because if I remember correctly, their recall that they did was prior to all of this going on. They just didn't have it with the magnitude. It was kind of a quiet recall type of thing. And I think today with everything going on, it becomes, we don't hear a whole lot about bad news or about good news, but we hear an awful lot about bad news. So, again, it's really tough to try to defend a company when there's so much devastation that happened from it. I just feel like we spend too much time worrying about that, and where we need to be worried about the solution and what the fix is. GM has the ability to step up, and they can't bring back the loss of life, and man, that's just a horrible situation. But, we have to move forward with this. And I think GM is too strong a staple with the economy and what, American business is to, shut them down.
No, I completely agree with that. And, once again, going back into just look at the products that they've brought to market in the last couple of years and the designs. And some of the, like I said, some of the most innovative stuff that we've seen on the market is coming out of GM right now. And I think that that's a big plus, and I think it's a big plus moving forward. And I think the fact that, they added these other vehicles, which, there's not really any big news on these other vehicles, these 2008 to 2011s. I haven't really seen anything, that shows that, there's been accidents or, like you said, loss of life with these vehicles. I haven't seen any major lawsuits going up into, 2011 vehicles. But I think the fact that, adding these vehicles in to make sure that this problem is handled, I think is GM's way of stepping up. And like I said, I don't think we've heard the last of that. I don't think we've heard the last of this story. And I totally agree with you that the other part of it is we talked about the issue with the Ford and the tires and Audi and everything else. Well, media today and the way that media reaches people today is tenfold. I mean, that tire issue, if it happens today, we're going to be, it's going to be as big a story as this is. It's the same thing with the Audi. It's going to be as big a story. And I mean, I think there's just a change in the way people are able to get their news, how fast they're able to get it, how many places they're able to get it from. So I think that that's a big push. What do you think, James?
I completely agree. I think it's twofold. We're moving forward. That's great. GM's a phenomenal company and is a staple of the American economy. However, I think the responsibility still lies with the last person that had that memo on their desk, and that's what we have the criminal system for.
Well, that's an interesting case. Once again, I mean, going back to the vehicles that have been highlighted that we went over earlier, if you're not sure if your vehicles should fall under this recall, regardless of the year model, contact your closest General Motors dealer and give them the VIN number, let them check, see if it's involved in a recall, let them fix this problem, and let's move on from this because it's a sad story. What was that website again that, James, that you said they had?
GMignition.com.
Okay, and we're going to put that up on our website today, and we'll put it out on Facebook as well. So if you didn't get it, if you're riding in your car, what have you, and you want to check it when you get to the house or work or wherever you're going today, check that out and check those things ahead of time. What are you doing over there, Shu?
Oh, I'm over here.
He's causing trouble like always.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what I do.
I'm looking at Shu and just
what
say,
did you?
You guys are
what was
you guys
the
are
website you just said?
I'm saying I just took it off my screen and I don't have it. So
GMignitionUpdate.com.
that's what I said.
I love the banter between the two of you. It's like a bromance gone
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, but it's the sign language that I like here. I mean,
Yeah,
going
It's like
back
they
and-
already
I
know
mean,
what each other's gonna say, but they're like battling who's gonna say it first.
I'm looking at Shu because he goes, you said it wrong, and I'm looking at him and I said, just put the freaking right one up on the website. go to theaneshow.com and you can find the correct one.
What had happened was, you guys are awesome, and you guys always make my Saturday mornings. So.
All right,
Just eat
one
your
more
cheese
time.
toast.
What is that website?
GMignitionUpdate.com. Matter of fact, if you go to gm.com, it's right on the homepage. They're all over it. So.
Okay,
Nailed it.
Thank you,
Dun,
Jen.
dun, dun,
That's
dun.
what
All
I
right.
said.
Well, like we said, if you have a question about whether your car falls under this, please go to the website, call your local dealer, check it out, get the issue fixed. Everybody out there, be safe. We're going to go to another break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to the lovely model Jennifer Reed and see what she's been up to, see what she did on spring break, right here on the AnE Show on 1190 KFXR.
You're tuned in to the Automotive News and Entertainment Show, right here on 1190 AM.
Welcome back to the Automotive News and Entertainment Show. We're after a short leave of absence. We're happy to be rejoined by the lovely Jennifer Reed. Jennifer, what have you been up to? Spring break. I know you've had some shoots going on. And
Yes, I have. It's really funny that you say you missed me because I actually missed you guys, but it was not because I wanted to. I actually had a fashion show last Friday that I was doing, and it's called Virum Fashion, and it's Freddie Duran invited me to go. So I had a great time. Let's just say that. So the next morning I was like, oh no,
It wasn't so great.
Oh my gosh, I felt so horrible the next day, but it was fun. Yeah, I've been shooting a lot and kind of just trying to take my time, planning them out. I have one tomorrow with Lorenzo Martinez.
I saw that.
Yeah, he's super awesome. I love him. And we got a fashion designer named Jesse Thaxton that's going to be providing the clothes. And then we got a makeup artist, Jen Karjner. So super excited. It's early morning, though. I mean, Lorenzo loves me, but he should know that I'm not a morning person.
Yeah, not until about 11:30.
I'm just kidding.
3 cups
Actually,
of coffee.
I always tell my boss at work, I'm like, if it's like after 9:30, we're good to go. Just don't speak loudly or anything important to me.
See,
before.
I like Jen's schedule because she doesn't work until after 9:30, and then
I'm at work. I'm just not really working.
I did see a Facebook post yesterday from you.
I was wanting to leave.
About
It was like
4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Like struggling.
You're like, okay, is it 5 yet? Let's go.
Can I just say it's 5? Yeah. No, it was horrible. I was just like, it's the end of the month for me, which you guys understand that. It's just like I'm getting, in a day with all these questions and, hey, this isn't going to go through. This is not going to fund. I'm like,
Don't ask Jen questions.
Yeah, so actually
in
Monday's gonna be
between.
my worst day. That's gonna be the last day.
After
of
4 o'clock and before 9:30, there is
See,
no working.
if you might can get that schedule, it'll be like a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I can ever find a job that's gonna be like that. Actually, my boss is pretty cool about that though, so it's kind of cool. He actually is like, he goes, "Are you good now? Are you okay? Have you had coffee yet?" I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "All right, let's go."
Oh, that's
So
nice.
it's funny.
Jen can flash a smile, and then everybody go, "Oh, okay, let's cater to you."
I get away with murder with that.
That's how these models, actresses, they get to do all that stuff. When you look like me, oh no, it's working.
Then it makes you look like you're creepy. Like, why are you smiling like that? That's kind of weird.
No, I don't smile.
Oh, you
Thanks,
don't
Jen.
know that.
Why are you looking at me like that? I had this guy post on my Facebook yesterday. He said I could never get any work done. It was actually on that photo I posted, and he was like, "This would be me looking at you at work. I wouldn't be able to focus." And it was that guy off of Office Space, Milton.
God.
And he just got glaring. I was like, "That's so creepy," but I get it. I like it. So
Red
He
stapler.
saw the picture of you and he couldn't work.
well, he said. Well, I think I distract a lot of people when I post photos and stuff because it's part of my job. I have to post photos and whatever. But it's funny because people are like, "Jennifer, I'm trying to work here. Like, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, just doing my job."
Yeah, so some of those photos that are posted, I'm like, with my son, I said, "No, you can't look at this one.
Yeah, don't look at that
Can't
one.
look at that one."
It's funny, especially in the beginning of my career. I mean, you experiment, and you do different things. But like honestly, I look back, I don't regret anything I've done because I've never done anything crazy. But it's still, I'm like, okay, let's just make sure those are not anywhere. My son can see those because it's a little bit more risque than you would normally, put out there. But no, it's a lot of fun. But
that's how Shu walks around his house most of the time.
I can only imagine.
Well, the guy that
We're starting that again.
Yes, sir.
Actually, when I heard about the guy locked up in his apartment down in downtown Dallas, down by Victory Plaza, the guy who liked to walk around and answer the door naked.
Hey,
I was thinking, did Shu move to Victory Plaza?
and the dot jumps in.
Well, here we go.
we always pick on you. What is that? What is about that?
I'm just that lovable sap that everybody
Right,
likes
yeah,
to pick
last time
on.
we were picking on him because he was are you
crying.
going to cry?
Yeah,
Are you
he
gonna
is.
cry?
Oh,
I
no,
s-
come on.
I
Again,
love you.
why do you look at me, Shu? I'm not bringing this up. Jen is.
Sorry, I'm not sitting next to you.
Because you started.
You did.
And then I stir that pot.
Stir the pot.
It's all right. At least you haven't gotten to the tournament play. What a disappointment that was. But anyway, Jen, go back to you.
Game, set, match.
Michigan State.
Hey, let's just focus on you right now. I just want to talk about everything that's going on with you in your life. How are you? How did you sleep last night? Everything?
Not
Good?
well, actually. Not well at all. No, I was watching the game, the many of them
Louisville,
across
Kentucky?
several different TV screens.
Did you guys have a bracket and everything set up?
Absolutely.
I did, but mine got
I'm-
blown out in the first
Okay, you
round.
want to hear how?
That,
we had
hey,
one
that
at
wasn't
work.
the thunderstorms that you heard last night. That was Shu's bracket.
Oh, boom.
Yeah, the only thing that's left is Florida.
That's funny.
Everything else is
my
gone.
work has a
Michigan
bracket
State.
going on, and I have zero clue. I mean, let's just be honest. Like, I don't, pay attention to like basketball brackets and all that stuff. Anyway, so they gave me a bracket to fill out. So we have a chance to win $300. I'm like, oh, dude, where are my? What are the people that know what they're doing? Where can I ask for the information? And I filled mine out based upon the fact that, okay, do I like this state? Do I not like this state? Is this name weird or is this name not weird? And that's all I did. So I've actually done pretty well, but
Did you
not
go with the
great.
weird name or not?
I went with Arizona for a lot of it. Just 'cause I was like, okay, that sounds
Well,
good.
that's only one side of the bracket.
Right. And then I think I picked UCLA to win, which I have zero clue if they're good or not, but let's hope so.
They beat Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah, well.
I was just hoping for the best. Shake it up, throw it on the paper. See
That
what happens.
Louisville game last night got my attention.
That was a good game.
Got my attention.
Yeah.
That was both
That
of
was
them,
a game.
They
They hate each other.
Oh, you
It's
think?
pretty good.
I want to see that. What was that lady? Is it college? Was it football that did that? I wonder if there's any like basketball moms that are gonna be going crazy and like punching at the fans in the faces, like the last lady.
That would be my wife.
Oh yay! But I think if my son was playing sports too, like and when he's older, I may be that mom. I'm just gonna be honest.
You ought to come to my son's game today and just go punch somebody.
I would love that in the throat, like
Yeah.
throat punch.
Be sure and get a picture of that. We can post that up.
Joe, is it okay for Jen Reed to come out to your game today?
He's like, no.
That's what I like about Jen is that she's beautiful and calm, and she wants to go throat punch somebody.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes you gotta
that's
throat punch somebody.
you gotta like that.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you just got throat punch. It makes you feel better at the end of the day, even if you hurt somebody else's feelings.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a boy, like I throat punched you and you fell.
Just feelings. I mean, only shoe cries, so nobody else, it's okay.
Hey, certain commercials get to me, okay?
He's got his tissues ready.
He does. Aww. Don't play him.
It reminds me of that movie.
I know my inner self.
That movie Dumb and Dumber, where he's watching that video,
now
and he's
we're
like,
going to Dumb and Dumber. Really?
I'm not trying to compare you to Dumb and Dumber. Just the fact that he's watching it was a commercial. You think it's like some sad movie? It's like a commercial for like some sort of like car or something. You're like, really?
Doc, is this the entertainment section right now?
Well, it's pretty entertaining. I'll tell you that much right now.
Yeah. Well, and I actually was texting Paul this morning because I miss his face.
Paul is not up yet.
He is actually. He was texting me this morning.
He hasn't been to bed yet.
Well, yeah, he's at the airport. He's just flying out. He's actually going to L.A. to interview Kevin Costner and Jennifer Garner for their new movie Draft Day.
Oh, very nice.
So
you know anything about that yet?
I don't actually, but I'm sure we'll find out.
I was going to say you need to nod and go, yeah, I do, and tell us about it.
He also told me to bring up cheese toast and mullets because that was what he wanted us to do in his honor.
There you go, Paul. You've heard
Here
it.
we go. Love you, Paul. Miss your face.
Jim Reed.
Jim just knew that was going to happen. There was just no way to get away from it.
Poor Jim. He's like, please don't bring that up. Please don't bring that up. I can't help myself.
Yeah.
I've had too much coffee. I've had a triple soy mocha here today. So love you guys.
So what'd you guys do for spring break?
You know what? We did the old Galveston trip. We had family friends that came out with us, and a lot of Tecate and Corona on the beach.
That's a good time.
Yeah, nice, relaxing.
How is Galveston these days? I haven't been since.
You know
I was
what?
a kid.
They have cleaned up the beach, and do you remember again? No, it actually looks pretty nice. I recommend anybody if they want to spend a couple of days down there, go down there and
check it out.
Enjoy.
I think I was about 9.
But funny,
oil spill or
none. It was cleaned up. Jellyfish weren't on there. It was pretty nice. But funny story. So they, do you remember the hotel that used to be on the pier?
Yeah.
Well, they've now made an amusement park out there.
Oh, nice.
So this is my funny story, and my son behind me in the control room will be laughing about it. But we go on this one roller coaster ride. It goes straight up, straight down, goes across the ocean, all that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool. So what do I want to do? I want to videotape it so I can share it with my friends at the AnE show. And I pull out my cell phone and start videotaping it. Well, we get off the ride, and the lady ends up saying, "You're not supposed to videotape." And I said, "Okay, well, I won't do it again." I am escorted out by security.
What?
I was kicked. This is our second ride. I'm escorted out by security. And I try to talk my way in, or way back in, or not to get kicked out. And the management of the park wouldn't even come talk to me. Because I know once they heard my side of the story that I was just going to share it with the AnE show, that they would have allowed me to stay in the park. Well, they were going to cut my band off, and I refused to let them cut the band off. So I left the park, took off my sweatshirt, walked right back in. And
so you know, they say it was about the video. It had nothing to do with the fact that you were naked from the waist down, did it?
There were no signs that said I couldn't do that.
Okay,
they were impressed with that, but no.
It just said shirt and shoes required. That was it.
That's it. I did. I had my shirt on.
No
I had
shirt,
my shoes.
no ride, but
pants, no big deal.
But they let him in.
Yeah.
Did you do anything, David?
Worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, business is amazing at D&M, and leasing is going incredibly well, and our business is amazing. So no spring break, but did plan a trip for August, so going down to Los Cabos and doing a little deep sea fishing, but that'll have to wait till August.
How about you, Shu?
You're dressed like it right now.
Work.
We've got some really great things going on at Delivery Max, so we're doing a bunch of restructuring right now. But our home is, because of the age of our children, was pretty much kind of like Union Central. So we had all the spring breaks coming in and out, and the house was full of kids, and then be empty one day, and then 3 more would show up, and all their frat buddies, and that kind of thing, in and out, and in and out.
Let's point out, not restructuring the company. The company's doing great.
No.
Yeah.
Networks.
Yes, networks.
Networks.
Restructuring network. I can see Josh, out there and go, what?
Yeah, well, that's all right. We haven't had a panic call from him yet. So
So Josh doesn't know he's about the restructure of the company?
Yeah,
No.
exactly.
Yeah, he
Well,
doesn't. He's not in the loop on that one.
No, Delivery Max is doing great.
Delivery Max is doing great. We've got some exciting things coming online, and so there's some restructuring going on, and it's just a little hectic right now, just trying to get all that piece together.
All right, well, we're going to take our final break here on the AnE show, and when we come back, we're going to touch a little sports stuff. We're going to hit the Final Four and some other stories that are out there right here on the AnE show on 1190 KFXR.
You're tuned in to the Automotive News and Entertainment Show right here on 1190 AM.
Welcome back to the AnE show right here on 1190 KFXR. I want to thank our sponsors today, DodgeCityMcKinney.net, Delivery Max, and the Drew Pearson Show. Also want you to know that if you need a car and you're looking to lease, the guy to contact is David Hooks. David Hooks, Senior Leasing Manager at D&M Leasing. You can reach him at David D Hooks at D&M D. I'm sorry.
There's
D
a lot
Hooks.
of D's in there.
Yeah.
Too many
D
Ds.
Hooks
Man,
at
I really appreciate this plug. Thanks very much.
DMAutoleasing.com.
It's very clear on how to get a hold of me, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know. Okay. D Hooks at DMAutoleasing.com. Give him a call if you're looking to lease a vehicle. He'll take great care of you.
That'd be 972-239-2222, extension 404.
And
Say
it
that
will be
3
on our
times
website.
fast. Just that was a very deep voice. I like that. Very
Thanks
nice.
very much, Jen.
Hey.
Well, I mean, let's touch on the Final Four a little bit. I mean, the Final Four is obviously going to be coming to Dallas. Shoe's sitting here shaking his head because, I mean, not only has his bracket been blown up, but his teams have been blown up. I don't think there's very much surprise that Florida is in the Elite Eight.
Michigan State.
Yeah. But I think, and then you have the 1 and 2 seeds with Arizona and Wisconsin coming out of the West. I think the surprise team, and obviously seems like we always have a Cinderella every year, and this year it seems to be Dayton. And of course we've got Michigan State, Connecticut, and then you had the big battle between Kentucky and Louisville, two teams that just flat out don't like each other. Kentucky came out on top. And then you have Michigan, but I think Dayton being the Cinderella of this tournament.
You know, that's what makes this tournament so great. There is always a Cinderella, and anybody can end up winning the whole thing. And you're not on. You don't have a home court advantage, and that's what makes this so nice. Is that it's 5 players against 5 players. And it just comes down to executing the plays, executing the defense, and really then ultimately it comes down to heart. And so I love March because of this tournament. I was talking with my Aunt Sissy last night, and we were talking about NBA. She was like, do you follow the Spurs at all? And I'm like, you know what? No. If the Mavericks are out of the not in the playoff run-ins or it's not the playoffs NBA, I really don't watch it too much. However, this tournament is just one of the most exciting times because you see these 18, 19-year-old guys get in there, something they've worked their whole young life for, and they have a chance to actually do something on a big stage. So, great tournament.
Well, and you just don't see. I mean, outside of sometimes the 1s versus 16s in the first round. I mean, you don't see a ton of blowouts either. I mean, you're talking about games like Michigan, Tennessee, 73-71. I mean, Connecticut, 81-76 over Iowa State. Michigan State, 61-59. Kentucky and Louisville, which is just a battle, 74-69. I mean, the games are so close, they're so competitive. Going right down to crunch time. But like we said, there's always that Cinderella, and I think that one thing that we talked about last week briefly was we were talking about Mercer, upsetting Duke, but them having their top 7 players were all seniors. These guys have played together. They know where each other's going to be, and on any given night, regardless of I don't think physically, talented or anything like that they're probably as good as Duke, but the fact that they played together, and you have these stories out there, and I know Bobby Knight was out there really just saying that the NBA has just basically destroying college basketball. With this one and done and, now there's these stories out there about the possibility of them holding these guys out and not making them eligible until 2 years after their high school graduation class, which is very similar to what the NFL has done. There hasn't been as big a pushback from players and such in the NFL that I think you'll get from the NBA, just because the physicalness, the weight, the strength, and everything that it takes to go from one level to the next, isn't there, and is not there as much in basketball as it is in football.
Hey, have you guys followed now I've just got bits and pieces of it, and I haven't even looked into it yet, but this unionization.
Right.
That's
a great.
What?
Well, so here it is, and it started at Northwestern. I'm glad you brought that up. I think Bobby Knight has a point, and honestly, I kind of disagree with him. I agree with you, Doc, that it is ruining college basketball, the one and done rule. Okay, but the bottom line is any other profession, career, what have you, if you graduate from high school at 18 and you want to get in and you want to start working in your career, hey, I'm all for that. So if they're good enough to play in the NBA or good enough to play in the NFL, fine. But this point that you just brought up about the unionization, basically paying college athletes, because that's where it's going to go into.
Well, now you say that, but the former quarterback of Northwestern, his name's Kane. I forget his last name, but he with the NLRB is the ones who pushed this through. And basically, it's just Northwestern right now. And now it's up to the players to vote on whether or not they want to become a union. The real issue that he brought up was not necessarily the pay for play, but what he's looking at is they're looking at health benefits, because of the issues and what the college is or isn't responsible for these kids who actually get hurt and may need, care before or after that. Now, one of the issues that comes up is, if you're on a 4-year scholarship, it's really 4 one-year scholarships. Now, if you become a union, okay, and let's say you're a blue chip high school player, okay, and we give you a 4-year scholarship, and now you're a union player. What if you don't live up to your potential?
Exactly.
Okay, and that happens all the time in college. Kids are recruited. They don't live up to their potential. Maybe they don't fit into the system. Maybe there was a coaching change that didn't make them fit into the system. I mean, one of the perfect examples, going back to, really one of the Dallas local heroes, Troy Aikman, going to Oklahoma.
Right.
People don't remember that. He got there. The offense was supposed to be changed and adjusted and altered for him. It wasn't. He left and went to UCLA. That's when you see a lot of these players transfer. You'll see a lot of it happen when you see coaching changes and things like that. But if you're a blue chipper and they bring you in and you don't live up to your expectations, but you're there, they keep you there. You'll stay on the team. They won't fire you. And you'll get a good, solid education. You'll get a real education, a real 4-year education from this institution.
Well, and that's where the focus needs to go.
Now, the question becomes is if you're going to unionize and you're going to make the colleges and you're going to start pulling money in, even if it's not pay for play, but even if it's just to create funds for health benefits or what have you for college players, if you're a blue chip athlete and you come in and 2 years in you're not up to the standards, what's going to keep the college from just saying, okay, well, you know what? Because we all know college football is all about the money. It is a money grab. It always has been. It's the reason why we have 75 bowl games instead of a real, 8 to 10 to 12 to 16, week or not week, but team, championship series. And even though I think college football is moving towards that and what we're going to see next year, with basically taking the top 4 and having a small one, we still don't really have a playoff system in place.
Right. Well, and there's so many subjects we can talk about on this, but look, if they unionize, ultimately they're going to look, and this is where they've talked about it. Ultimately there are players that want to be paid because they say, okay, they're earning their university millions of dollars. Yeah, they are. Okay, but if you start paying the football players, you're going to have to pay the girls' soccer team. You're going to have to pay the lacrosse team. Then it's going to come down to a percentage. You know who's going to get hurt by all of this? Is that student that chooses Northwestern to go through journalism, or that student that ends up going to University of Texas to be an attorney. They're going to get their tuition jacked up, and because we're paying, because the president's not going to get hurt, the coach isn't going to get hurt. They're just going to pass this cost on to the average student.
When you consider the pay for play deal, for example, I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $60,000 a year for Northwestern. Okay, in my estimation, they're getting paid $60,000.
Exactly.
They're getting paid $60,000 a year. Where I think this could work for everybody is the fact that these kids, especially if they're blue chippers, top-notch guys. I mean, we saw some of the stories of Diddy or Dittany, with what's his name from A&M.
Manziel.
Yeah, with Johnny Football. Well, they should be able to make money on the side off their likeness, off their autographs,
I'm fine with
off
that.
their things of that nature. I mean, they should be able to. I think if they allow them to make money that way, off their likeness, signatures, autographs, things like that, I think that's kind of a middle ground. Give them the education. If they unionize, give them their education. Give them, work something out, because I think the main focus right now is the health benefits, which it's kind of hard. And whether it's a lacrosse player, a basketball player, what have you, I think that's something that needs to be looked at, because they do bring money in. All the athletes bring money in for the
Jim, my phone is blowing up. You can comment on this subject on the AnE on our Facebook page. So go to our Facebook page and comment on it, and we'll read your comments when you get back.
And we look forward to seeing everybody next week. Thank you to the team. Thank you, Shu. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, David. Spin Doctor, thanks for being with us. I'm Doc, and we'll see you next week right here on the AnE Show.
KFXR Dallas, with all the top news and business stories of the day. It's all on 1190 AM.